Hello everybody, Humble here, and welcome to my review of A Pup Named Scooby Doo. If you haven't heard, A Pup Named Scooby Doo is technically the 8th reincarnation of the Scooby Doo franchise and was released in 1988 and continued on for 3 years. A Pup Named Scooby Doo is a more comedy-centric show. Like, there's mysteries, obviously, it's a Scooby Doo show, but there's not as much of an emphasis on it as much as Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Or What's New, Scooby-Doo. So yeah, I remember watching this show as a kid, and it looked interesting, so let's get straight into it. So first off, you can't start a review without talking about the theme song. Holy crap, I love this theme song. It's so catchy. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, It's so catchy. Even if you end up never watching this series, I suggest you look up the theme song online. It is up there with What's New, Scooby-Doo in my book. And another thing to start out with is the animation. I really like it. It's very bouncy, I would say. You know, the characters aren't always moving, but they're never really standing still, I guess. Which isn't a bad thing. It's not like they're always bouncing around the screen. No. The best way to describe it is there's not really any straight lines. I mean, even looking at the title screen, there's a lot of curves. The only really solid shape I could make out is a circle in the background. And throughout the episodes, like, doors aren't really squares. They're curved. I like the style, honestly. It's way better than like things like Be Cool, Scooby-Doo, or anything like that. So let's talk about the characters. Fred. He is the leader of the gang, but he doesn't really do that much. And he's very quick to blame other people. For example, when they're about to unmask really any monster, Freddy's always like, "It's X," and everyone's like, "No, stupid, it's not." I'll get to that character in a minute that he's blaming. Daphne is probably my least favorite, however. I just don't like her. She's such a brat. In this series, she has her own butler, which I've never seen. Daphne's always been this, I hate to put stereotypes, but like this girl character, but she's always stood up for herself. Here, she's that straight, stereotypical girl character. She's into fashion. She hates getting mud on her boots. Stuff like that. Fancy girl stereotypes, basically. That's her character. Velma is definitely the most important character of this gang. The one thing that I don't like is she's always the one to find the clues, other than Scooby-Doo by accident. Out of all the episodes that I watched to make this review, she has always been the one to solve it. It's never Freddy, it's never Shaggy, never Scooby-Doo. No, it is always Velma. And I don't know, it feels really formulaic. I mean, the whole Scooby-Doo series is pretty formulaic with its characters. I mean, Shaggy, Scooby-Doo haven't really changed ever that much. But yeah, Velma's character seems very formulaic. She's always finding the clues. She pulls out her computer and just takes notes. It's really weird. Now, Shaggy and Scooby-Doo are really unchanged. They haven't changed that much, but what has changed is their relationship. They are more close together than ever in this series, and I love this. You know, they're always by each other's side. It's not always about food, it's just supporting each other, and I love that personally. Also, there's a bunch of reoccurring characters, but the main one is called Red Herring. He's a red-headed, this bully stereotypical kid, and his name is literally Red Herring. And remember when I said Fred always blames X character? This is him. I mean, of course, there's this whole joke about red herring. I mean, the show has so many red herrings that adding a character named Red Herring just seems fit. And I love it, but I don't at the same time. Again, the series just seems very formulaic. You know, at the end of every episode, Fred always blames Red Herring, and Red Herring is always, at least what I've seen, never the villain. And even though that he's named Red Herring, he's never really a red herring, if you know what I mean. He's always just kind of thrown in at the end because Fred has this grudge against him, and so does Red Herring against Fred. So yeah, on to monsters. The monsters aren't really spectacular. Some of them are super generic. Like, the ice demon. He's a snow monster. We've seen that so many times I can't even count. But some of them are just so weird. In fact, the first episode that I watched to review the series had a character named Chickenstein. And here he is, the great guy himself, Chickenstein. I mean, I can't help but laugh. A lot of the monsters are not scary. They're just really funny. I mean, Chickenstein just goes around going... It's just super funny. I bet the writers made him to be funny. I doubt. I mean, maybe he gave some kids nightmares, but I don't know. Chickenstein kind of takes it a bit far. So yeah, the monsters are pretty cool, but they're kind of off the shelf. Like, they're kind of like default monsters, just with a new twist. The emphasis on mystery is pretty prevalent. I mean, so I got stumped on a couple of the mysteries in the episodes, but it's mainly comedy. The jokes are all right. They're not like laugh out loud funny, and a lot of them are meta. A lot of jokes are meta jokes. Pretty strange because this came out in 1988. So even back then, Scooby-Doo was already making fun of itself. During the chase scene where typically music plays, Shaggy tells Scooby-Doo, "Here, take this quarter, put it in the music machine because we gotta run." So the show loves to break pretty much its own fourth wall a lot of the times. It will become super meta, but it will also do things like Scooby-Doo will run through transitions between scenes. Like, for example, some of the cuts that they do between scenes, there's like this diagonal line that comes up, and Scooby will kind of go over the line into the next scene. Kind of like how in the Wild Ones in SpongeBob, he rides the bubble transition to the next scene. And also, coming from 1988, Pup Named Scooby Doo is very cartoony. And what I mean by that is, when the gang all runs, they like jump up, they pause in the air, they run their legs in a circle, and then they zoom off. And just a lot of things happen, like Scooby-Doo will just pull out a huge object out of like this small bag. And a lot of other weird cartoon logic, and I really love that about cartoons. I mean, heck, that's when you're animating something, you know, you can bend the laws of logic just a little bit. Nothing that's ruining the story, but, you know, you can break logic a little bit. So, would I recommend you watch this? If you really love old Scooby-Doo, and you want to see some really good cartoon logic, kind of a cartoon, with some funny gags and a little bit of a mystery, it's not going to be like, you're going to think about this mystery a lot. It's like, there's 3 subjects. There's not a lot of red herrings, so I would watch it if it was on TV, which I doubt it really ever will. Maybe on Boomerang. Or if you're just feeling nostalgic, which is half of the reason why I went to go check out this show in the first place. So yes, if you're a fan of Scooby-Doo, totally recommend this. If you're not a fan of Scooby-Doo, I bet you'll find it enjoyable, but only for a couple episodes, because again, it does get very formulaic at times. So, with that, thank you all for sticking around this long, and I'll see y'all later.